The four-star Army general would be the first black defense secretary, but he requires a congressional waiver to serve because he retired from active duty less than 7 years ago. In 2017, 17 Democratic senators voted against providing such a waiver to retired General James Mattis, including Senator Tammy Duckworth, an Iraq War veteran and a Purple Heart recipient. Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth, who serves on the Armed Services Committee, joins me now. Senator, thank you very much for being with us. Well, first of all, have you decided whether or not you will support a waiver for General Austin?
I will support General Austin, but I will not support the waiver.
Well, without the waiver, how would he be able to serve?
Well, he would not be able to, but I suspect that that the waiver will pass. I will not vote for the waiver. I believe very strongly that there need to be civilian control, civilian oversight of the military, and by reducing the wait times from 10 years to 7 years. We did that in 2007 without any input. And now, again, for a second Secretary of Defense in a row to request another waiver. I just can't support that on principle. I will tell you, though, that General Austin is an excellent officer, well-tested, very capable of leading the Department of Defense, and I think he will be an excellent Secretary of Defense. But on principle, I cannot vote for the waiver.
From your conversations with colleagues, do you think he will be confirmed?
I do think he will be confirmed, yes. I think that there is enough folks who will vote for the waiver that he will get confirmed, unless something happens in committee new and that we don't know about. But I expect that the process will be very smooth, and I've actually offered to help him go through that process myself, because I do think he is an excellent officer.
What are your concerns then about if you have concerns about civilian control of the Pentagon, then why would you help him get confirmed? I mean, it does seem to be a disconnect there, because a lot of people admire his service, but a lot of people also are saying, certainly some prominent people are saying, that what the Pentagon needs now is someone to take a deeper dive on policy, and that essentially you'd be getting two chairmen of the Joint Chiefs by having him there. The same
remember that,
if you will.
Right. I would disagree with that assessment. I think that he would be very much able to do the deep dive on policy issues. My concern is it's a principle. You know, I spent 23 years in the Army to preserve and protect and defend our Constitution. And the system is set up that there should be civilian control of the military. It is important in our system of government that there's civilian oversight, civilian leadership over the military. And what has happened with these waivers is that we're slowly shifting towards a point where you could actually have military officers leave active duty and go on and become defense secretaries. That's not appropriate. That's only appropriate in places where there are military juntas, and America is not one of those nations. Now, I do suspect that the waiver will pass. I do think that General Austin is very capable of becoming a defense secretary. But for me, on principle, I can't vote on this waiver. I did not vote for the waiver with General Mattis. This principle is bigger than any single individual, and I'm going to stick by it.
And I also want to point out that on Facebook today, former Secretary of State and Joint Chiefs Chairman Colin Powell is voicing his support for General Austin, writing, President-elect Joseph Biden is making a superb choice in selecting General Lloyd Austin to be the next Secretary of Defense. General Austin, according to General Powell, has served splendidly at all combat and civilian levels in the armed forces. He has demonstrated his warfighting skills and his bureaucratic, diplomatic, and political acumen. Well, at the same point, I wanted to bring you to the issue of Fort Hood. You've spoken out on this today as well. The Army has disciplined 14 senior officers, including a general, soldiers as well, at Fort Hood after that independent study, the independent conclusion of the review board that there was a terrible handling of this case of Veronica Guillen. Tell me what you think needs to be done. Was that good enough?
Well, I think it certainly is a excellent decision by the Secretary of the Army, Ryan McCarthy. I think that there needs to be more done at Fort Hood. We need a whole overhaul of how they're treating their soldiers and civilians there. One of the things that was found was that they have not been adequately implementing the sexual harassment and rape prevention training programs. That is supposed to be a central part of their personnel actions, and they've not been adequately implementing that. That is something that needs to be done. I myself have been calling for a GAO investigation for a deeper dive. into how everything has been handled, from the training in terms of sharp training, as well as how the investigations when this soldier when she went missing. And remember, she's not the only death that came out of Fort Hood. There have been multiple instances and multiple cases that have happened here, unfortunately, all very tragic, ending in the deaths of soldiers. We cannot let that continue.
And finally, the defense bill, the House passing the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, last night, despite President Trump's threat to veto it. Is it veto-proof in the Senate?
I think it's veto-proof in the Senate. And it's very sad that President Trump would continue to bring issues that are not germane to our nation's defense and to our DOD budget. And he would continue to do things like threaten to veto troops' pay increases because he's in a fight with Facebook and Twitter. He needs to keep those fights outside of the defense budget. This is about our national security. This is about the men and women who wear the uniform of this nation getting a much-needed pay increase, a very modest one at that, and also the training dollars that we need to keep them operating and able to defend us. And that for this president to first threaten a veto over dead Confederate generals, and now he's threatening a veto over of his fight with Facebook and Twitter, is not appropriate. We need to pass this defense budget, and I think there are enough folks on the Republican side of the aisle who will vote for it that we will be able to override the veto.
And it faces an uncertain future in the House, though, because we're already hearing from the Republican leader that he will support the bill, but not an override. We'll have to wait and see. Thank you very much.